Welcome. You've made it. Maybe the day was loud. Maybe your thoughts still are. But now, you're here at Midnight Dash, a quiet place to relax while I tell you ancient stories. Tonight's tale is older than memory. It speaks of a journey beyond breath, where shadows judge your soul. Your heart is placed on a scale, and your final step might be your last. Because in the Egyptian afterlife, you wouldn't have lasted a day. So come closer, I'll tell you why. And if sleep finds you first, that's okay. Some myths finish themselves. There is a moment, quiet as falling sand, when everything changes. Not with violence or sudden shock, but with the gentle exhale that carries your last breath into the warm Egyptian air. The afternoon sun slants through windows of mud brick, casting golden rectangles across linen sheets. Your family sits nearby, their voices a soft murmur like distant water. This is how death comes in the ancient world, not as an enemy, but as a doorway. The Egyptians understood this. They knew that the moment your chest rises and falls for the final time, you are not ending, but beginning. Beginning the most important journey any soul can take. Your Ka, that invisible double, that spiritual twin who has walked beside you since birth, feels the tether break. Like a bird released from its cage, it rises. The room below grows dim, but not dark. Instead, everything takes on the quality of deep twilight, when day and night meet in perfect balance. You feel yourself standing, though your body remains still on the bed. This new form is lighter, translucent as morning mist, yet somehow more real than flesh ever was. You can see your family gathered around what was once your home, but their faces are soft now, distant. They belong to the world of the living. You belong to something else. Above you, the ceiling dissolves. Stone and wood become transparent as water, and beyond them, the sky opens like a vast flower blooming in reverse. But this is not the sky you knew in life. The blue has deepened to indigo, then to black shot through with silver. Stars appear, not the familiar constellations, but new patterns that spell out words and languages you somehow understand. The air itself has changed. It carries scents of myrrh and lotus, of river mud and distant rain. There is music too, though you cannot tell if it comes from instruments or from the movement of celestial bodies. It is the sound of eternity, tuning itself to receive you. Your feet, if feet they can be called, touch ground that is not quite ground. Sand, perhaps, but sand made of crushed pearls and ground starlight. Each step sends tiny ripples of luminescence spreading outward, announcing your presence to unseen watchers. The Duat, the hidden realm, the place between worlds where souls journey toward their final destination. You have entered it now, and there is no returning to the simple certainties of mortal life. Ahead lies a path that stretches beyond the horizon, marked by obelisks that seem to be carved from solidified shadow. Take a breath. The air here tastes of eternity, and begin to walk. The path winds through landscape that shifts like memory. One moment you walk across sand dunes that sing in harmonies no living ear has heard. The next, you find yourself in a grove of date palms whose leaves whisper secrets in the ancient tongue. The ground beneath your feet might be stone or water or compressed time. It is impossible to tell, and perhaps the distinction no longer matters. But always, always, You move toward the gate. You see it first as a smudge of darkness against the star-scattered sky. Then, as you draw closer, it resolves into something that challenges the eye's ability to process. The gate of the Duat is not built. It is grown, carved, dreamed into existence by powers older than human civilization. Two massive pillars rise from the desert floor, their surfaces covered in hieroglyphs that move and shift like living things. Between them stretches a doorway filled not with emptiness, but with a darkness so complete it seems solid. At the base of each pillar stands a figure. They are tall, these guardians, tall and still as statues. But statues do not breathe, and these beings breathe with the rhythm of cosmic tides. Their heads are the heads of animals, one hawk, one crocodile, but their bodies are human, draped in linen that gleams with its own inner light. They watch you approach with eyes that hold the patience of millennia. They have stood here since the first star kindled in the void, and they will stand here when the last ember of creation grows cold. They are the watchers at the threshold, and nothing passes into the Duat without their permission. You stop before them, and the silence stretches like a held breath. The guard with the hawk's head tilts his magnificent beak slightly, considering. When he speaks, his voice is the sound of wind over endless sand. Who are you who would enter the realm of the dead? The question seems simple, but you sense depths beneath it, like hidden currents in a still pool. This is not merely asking for a name. This is asking for understanding of self, for knowledge of identity that goes beyond the accidents of birth and circumstance. You open your mouth to speak and find that words come not from memory, but from some deeper place. You speak your name, your true name, the one written in the stars at the moment of your birth. You speak the names of your parents and their parents, tracing your lineage back through generations, like following a thread through a labyrinth. But names alone are not enough. The crocodile-headed guardian raises one hand, and in his palm appears a small object that pulses with soft blue light. Name the gods, he commands. Speak the words that open the way. And here, if you are like most souls who reach this threshold, you would falter. For the ancient Egyptians knew that knowledge was power, and power was survival. To enter the Duat, you must know not only who you are, but who rules the realm you would enter. You must speak the names of the gods, all of them, from the mightiest to the most obscure. Ra and Osiris, yes, but also Khnum and Seshat, Wepwawet and Nekbet. Each name must be pronounced correctly, with proper respect and understanding. Each name carries weight, opens doors, provides protection against the dangers that wait in the darkness ahead. Without this knowledge, without these words of power, the guardians will not permit you to pass. You will remain forever in the liminal space before the gate, not alive, not truly dead, but caught between worlds like a reflection in disturbed water. But let us imagine, for the purposes of this journey, that you possess this knowledge. Perhaps in life, you were a priest, or a scribe, or simply one who listened carefully to the old stories. Perhaps your Ka carries wisdom your mortal mind never held. However it comes to you, the names flow from your lips like water from a sacred spring. Ra-Atum, the self-created one. Ta, the craftsman of the gods. Thoth, the measurer of time and scribe of divine will. Isis, the great of magic, she who knows Ra's secret name. Nephthys, the lady of the house, guardian of the dead. With each name, the hieroglyphs on the pillars glow brighter. The guards nod slowly, their ancient features softening with something that might be approval. You speak of Anubis, who will weigh your heart, of Mot, whose feather measures truth, of Osiris, who sits in judgment of the dead. When the last name fades from your lips, the darkness between the pillars begins to thin, not brightening, but becoming transparent, like black silk held to lamplight. Beyond it, you glimpse the path that leads into the Duat proper, a road paved with obsidian and bordered by rivers of liquid starlight. The hawk-headed guardian steps aside. Pass, named one. But know this, to enter the Duat is to accept its trials. Not all who walk this path reach its end with their souls intact. You nod, understanding. There is no other choice now but forward. Behind you, the world of the living grows ever more distant. Ahead lies the journey that will determine not just your fate, but the very nature of your existence for all eternity. You step through the gate of the Duat, and the real journey begins. The path beyond the gate descends gently at first, winding through a landscape that seems carved from midnight and polished to a mirror shine. The obsidian road reflects your passage, but the reflection shows not your Ka form, but shadowy glimpses of what you were in life. A child running through wheat fields, a lover's face turned up to catch moonlight, hands that worked and worried and finally grew still. To either side of the road, the terrain shifts and changes like the surface of a dreaming mind. Sometimes you walk between towering dunes of black sand that whisper with the voices of the unborn. Sometimes the path leads through valleys where trees of silver and gold cast no shadows, their leaves chiming like distant bells and breezes that carry the scent of frankincense and forgotten tears. But beauty in the Duat is never without danger. This is the realm where gods battle the forces of chaos, where order and entropy wage their eternal war. The first hour teaches you this lesson quickly. You see them first as ripples in the obsidian road, distortions that suggest something large moving beneath the surface. Then, with movements fluid as water, they emerge, serpents. But not the simple snakes of the living world. These are creatures of pure malevolence, each one thick as a temple column and long as the shadow cast by a pyramid at noon. Their scales are not scales but tiny mirrors, each one reflecting a different nightmare. Their eyes burn with fires that went out when the world was young, and their breath turns air to poison. They rear up as you approach, forming a living wall of writhing flesh across your path. One of them speaks, and its voice is the sound of sand pouring through the cracks in a tomb. Turn back, soul. The path ahead is not for such as you. We offer you oblivion, quick and clean. Accept our gift and know peace. This is the first test, the temptation to surrender before the journey truly begins. How easy it would be to simply stop walking, to let these ancient predators claim you. No more trials, no more uncertainty, just the soft darkness of non-existence. But you remember the names you spoke at the gate. You remember Apep, the great serpent of chaos, and how Ra fights him nightly in these very realms. You speak a word of power, a phrase taught to you by ancestors, whose bodies have long since returned to dust. The serpents recoil as if struck. The mirrors in their scales crack and blacken. Slowly, reluctantly, they sink back into the obsidian road, leaving only slight distortions to mark where they waited. You walk on, but the path ahead brings new dangers. Rivers of liquid fire cut across your route, their banks formed of cooled slag that cracks and shifts under your feet. To cross, you must speak the names of the ferryman gods, each one more obscure than the last. Get a name wrong, mispronounce a syllable, and the flames leap higher, reaching for you with fingers of molten hatred. Beyond the fire rivers, you encounter the field of lost souls, a vast plain where beings wander without purpose or memory. They were once travelers like you, but they forgot their names, forgot their destinations, forgot why they had come to this place. Now they drift like smoke, calling out questions they cannot quite remember, reaching for answers that dissolve at their touch. Who am I? They whisper as you pass. Where was I going? Why does my heart feel so heavy? You must not stop to help them, though every instinct urges compassion. This too is a test. To pause here, to try to restore what they have lost, is to risk losing yourself in their confusion. The kindest thing you can do is keep walking, keep holding tight to your own identity and purpose. The landscape shifts again. Now you walk through a forest of crystallized screams, trees that were once voices raised in terror or despair, now frozen into geometric beauty. They chime when the wind touches them, creating melodies of perfect sadness that could stop your heart if you listened too long. At the end of the third hour, you reach a crossroads. 7 paths stretch before you, each one leading to a different section of the duat. Choose wrong, and you might wander for eons in regions where time moves backward or where gravity flows upward instead of down. Choose correctly, and you advance to the next phase of your journey. But how to choose? The paths are unmarked, and each one looks identical to your ka site. This is where the teachings of the priests become essential. You must know that the correct path is always the fourth from the left, not because of any logical reason, but because this is the hidden knowledge, the secret that separates the prepared from the unprepared. You step onto the fourth path and feel it solidify under your feet. The other 6 fade away like mirages, leaving only the true road ahead. 3 hours have passed in the duat, and already you understand why so few souls complete this journey intact. But ahead lies greater beauty and greater terror than anything you have yet encountered. The fourth path leads you into a region where the very air seems thick with memory. Colors here have weight, sounds cast shadows, and thoughts take on physical form before dissolving back into the ether. You are entering the mirror hall, though you cannot see the building yet, only its influence spreading outward like ripples from a stone dropped in still water. As you walk, you become aware of a presence beside you, not threatening, not alien, but somehow familiar. You turn your head, but see nothing, yet the sense of companionship remains. Footsteps, though that are not quite footsteps, echo your own. Breathing that matches your rhythm whispers in the starlit air. I know this place, says a voice, and you realize with a start that it is your own voice, but speaking words you have not chosen to say. I remember walking here before, in dreams I thought were only dreams. This is the voice, your own consciousness split and reflected, becoming companion and guide and sometimes opponent. In the mirror hall, the boundaries between self and other, between observer and observed, grow thin as spider silk. The voice knows things your active mind has forgotten. It remembers the preparation for this journey that began in the womb, the lessons your soul learned in the spaces between sleeping and waking. Listen, the voice continues, and now you cannot tell if it comes from beside you or from within your own thoughts. Do you hear them? The builders are still working. And you do hear them, the sound of tools on stone, the rhythm of ancient work songs, the shuffle of feet on sand. The mirror hall is still being built, has always been building, will never be finished. It expands and contracts with the needs of each soul who enters it, creating itself anew for every visitor. The path curves, and suddenly the hall stands before you, though stands is perhaps the wrong word. The structure seems to exist in several dimensions at once, its walls intersecting at angles that should be impossible. Every surface is polished to mirror brightness, but the reflections they show are not of your present form, but of moments from your life. Here, in a panel of burnished copper, you see yourself as a child, reaching up to touch the face of your mother as she bends over your cradle. There, in a sheet of silver inlaid with gold, you witness your first kiss, your first heartbreak, your first moment of understanding that you were not immortal. Another mirror shows your hands as they performed acts of kindness, and another shows them when they chose cruelty over compassion. The voice walks beside you through this gallery of memory, commenting softly, "Remember this day. You thought no one was watching when you helped that stranger on the road. But the gods see all acts of mercy, just as they see all acts of selfishness." Some mirrors show not your past, but possible futures. The children you might have had, the paths you could have taken, the person you might have become if circumstances had been different. These reflections move and change as you watch, showing the infinite branching of choice and consequence that defines every mortal life. Do not linger, the voice warns, as you find yourself drawn to one particularly compelling vision. Yourself as a great ruler, beloved by your people, dying peacefully in extreme old age, surrounded by generations of grateful descendants. These are might have beens, beautiful but not real, not yours. Come away. The hall stretches on for what feels like miles, though distance here is measured not in space, but in emotional intensity. Each mirror demands attention, insists that you examine the choices that brought you to this moment. Some reflections bring joy, others shame, still others a complex mixture of emotions for which no names exist. At the hall's heart, you find the Sky Nile, a river that flows not with water, but with liquid starlight, crossing through the building's center like a silver ribbon. This is no ordinary river. It is the celestial reflection of the earthly Nile, the divine waterway that connects all realms of existence. To cross it, you must find the ferryman. He appears when called, poling his boat through currents of concentrated time. His face is hidden beneath a hood of woven shadow, but his eyes gleam with ancient wisdom. He asks no payment in gold or goods. Instead, he requires a memory, something precious from your life, freely given, never to be returned. You consider what to offer: a moment of perfect happiness, a treasured conversation with someone long dead, the memory of your first sight of the ocean, or the feeling of your child's hand in yours. Whatever you choose will be gone forever, but without this payment, the ferryman will not carry you across. The voice whispers urgently, choose quickly. The memory itself matters less than your willingness to let it go. This is about learning to release what you cannot keep, to understand that even the most precious moments are temporary. You speak your chosen memory aloud, feeling it drain away even as the words leave your lips. The ferryman nods once and extends his hand to help you into the boat. As you step aboard, you notice that the vessel is carved from a single massive pearl, its surface iridescent in the starlight. The journey across takes no time at all and also lasts forever. The Sky Nile flows in all directions simultaneously, carrying you not just from one bank to another, but from one state of being toward another. As you travel, you see other souls making their own crossings, some weeping for the memories they have surrendered, others laughing with the joy of release. The far shore rises before you, and the ferryman guides his boat to a dock made of crystallized moonbeams. You step onto the platform, and he pushes off immediately, already seeking the next passenger. His work is eternal, as necessary as breath, as inevitable as the rising of the sun. Behind you, the mirror hall fades into the distance, but its lessons remain. You carry with you now a deeper understanding of who you are, not just the person you thought yourself to be, but the sum of all your choices, all your moments of growth and failure and grace. The voice still walks beside you, clearer now, more integrated. 6 hours, it says with satisfaction, half the journey complete. But ahead lies the true test, the region where memory becomes prophecy, where the past reaches out to shape the future. You begin to walk again, leaving the hall and its 1,000 reflections behind. But you are no longer the same soul who entered it. The next phase of your journey awaits. Beyond the Sky Nile, the landscape of the Duat transforms once again. The crystalline perfection of the mirror hall gives way to something more organic, more alive. Here, the ground beneath your feet pulses with a rhythm like a massive heartbeat. The air shimmers with heat that comes not from any visible sun, but from the intensity of emotion itself. You are entering the region of memory and heart, where the duat stops showing you reflections of your past and begins to make that past present. Here, time folds back on itself like origami made from moments, and the people who shaped your life walk again, as real as they ever were. The first to appear is your mother. She emerges from a grove of acacia trees, looking exactly as she did when you were 7 years old, and she would tell you stories of the gods while braiding your hair. Her smile is the same smile that comforted your nightmares and celebrated your small victories. Her hands are the same hands that fed you, bathed you, guided you through the maze of growing up. My child, she says, and her voice carries all the warmth you remember. I have been waiting for you. Come, sit with me. Let me tell you one more story. The temptation is overwhelming. After the trials of the previous hours, after the loss of your treasured memory to the ferryman, what could be more natural than accepting this comfort? She spreads a blanket on the pulsing ground and pats the space beside her, just as she did when you were small and the world seemed full of wonders. But the voice that walks with you whispers urgently, remember where you are. Remember what is at stake. This is not truly her. It is memory given form, longing made manifest. If you sit with her, if you accept the comfort she offers, You will never rise again. You will remain here, a child forever, safe but incomplete. Your heart, which has been growing heavier with each step through the duat, suddenly weighs more than stone. The choice between comfort and growth, between the known past and the unknown future, is perhaps the cruelest test the realm of the dead can offer. With effort that feels like tearing part of yourself away, you keep walking. Your mother's face shows hurt, then understanding, then pride. Yes, she whispers, as she fades back into the grove. Yes, my brave child, this is how it must be. But she is only the first. Your father appears next, standing beside a fishing boat on the banks of a river that might be the Nile or might be made entirely of liquid sorrow. He holds the net you mended together when you were 12, his weathered hands patient as they were in life. One more day, he says. One more day on the water, you and me. The fish are running, and the sun is warm. What do you say? Again, you must choose. Again, you must walk past love itself, must reject the offer of perfect contentment in favor of uncertain progress. Your heart grows heavier still. Others follow. Your first love, radiant with youth and possibility, offering to dance with you under stars that never set. Your children, if you had them, or the children you might have had if fate had been kinder, reaching up with trusting arms. Teachers who shaped your mind, friends who understood your heart, even enemies who challenged you to become stronger. Each encounter tests a different aspect of your soul. Some offer forgiveness for old wounds. Others ask forgiveness for hurts they caused. All of them are real in the way that matters most. They are the truth of your connections, the bonds that defined your humanity. But accepting any of their invitations means ending your journey here. The region of memory and heart is lined with the ka forms of souls who could not let go, who chose the beautiful past over the uncertain future. They seem happy enough, lost in perfect moments that never end and never change. But they will never grow beyond what they were. They will never discover what they might become. With each rejection, each choice to continue forward rather than backward, your heart grows heavier. But this is not the weight of despair. It is the weight of experience, of love carried forward, of lessons learned and wisdom earned. The Egyptians understood that the heart was where the soul lived, where choices were made, where the essence of a person resided. Every step through this region adds to that essence, deepens it, makes it more truly yours. The voice provides commentary throughout these encounters, sometimes encouraging, sometimes warning. She was important to you, yes, but letting her importance trap you here serves neither of you. Love that holds you back is not love. It is fear wearing love's mask. As the 8th hour draws to a close, you encounter the most difficult test yet. It is yourself, not as you were at any particular age, but as you were at your very best. The person you were in your finest moment, when courage and compassion and wisdom all aligned to make you briefly more than merely human. This idealized self speaks with your voice, but with greater confidence, moves with your gestures, but with perfect grace. Why struggle further? It asks. You have already proven yourself capable of greatness. Stay here with me and be forever what you were when you were perfect. This may be the hardest temptation to resist. Who would not want to remain forever at their peak, never again to disappoint themselves or others, never again to fail or stumble or fall short of their highest aspirations. But the voice reminds you gently, perfection achieved is perfection ended. The journey ahead offers not the guarantee of greatness, but the possibility of becoming greater than you have ever been. You walk past your perfect self, and as you do, you feel your heart reach its maximum weight. Not crushing weight, but the full measure of a life lived, choices made, love given and received. You carry within your chest now the complete record of your humanity, ready to be weighed against the feather of ultimate truth. The ninth hour ends with you standing at the edge of a vast plain stretching to the horizon. Somewhere across that plain lies the whole of two truths, where your journey will reach its climax. But first, you must cross the emptiness, carrying the full weight of who you have been and who you might yet become. The plain stretches before you like an ocean of silver sand, each grain catching starlight and throwing it back in patterns that shift and dance with every breath of wind. The emptiness is not barren. It pulses with potential, with the weight of approaching culmination. Every step across this vastness brings you closer to the moment that will determine your eternal fate. The voice that has accompanied you through the previous hours grows quieter now, its commentary reduced to whispers. Not long now, it murmurs. The hardest trials are behind you. What lies ahead is not trial, but revelation, the unveiling of what you truly are. As you walk, you notice that you are not alone on the plain. Other souls move across the silver expanse, each one carrying their own burden of memory and choice. Some stride forward with confidence, their hearts light with lives well lived. Others stumble under weights too great to bear, their forms dim and flickering like candles in a strong wind. A few have stopped walking altogether, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what awaits. You do not speak to them, nor they to you. This final approach is made in solitude, each soul confronting their destiny alone. Yet there is comfort in their presence, the reminder that you are part of something larger, a great procession of humanity making its way toward judgment. The Hall of Two Truths appears gradually, first as a shimmer on the horizon, then as a structure of impossible grandeur. It is built from white limestone that glows with its own inner light, supported by columns carved to resemble papyrus stalks the size of ancient trees. The roof disappears into the star-scattered sky, and the walls are covered with hieroglyphs that move and shift, telling the stories of every soul who has ever stood in judgment here. At the hall's entrance, two more guardians wait. These are different from the watchers at the gate, smaller, more human in appearance, but somehow more terrible for their familiarity. They wear the faces of people you have known, a teacher who disappointed you, a friend who betrayed you, a stranger whose kindness you repaid with cruelty. They represent the weight of social conscience, the knowledge that others have observed and judged your actions. Are you ready? Asks the guardian, wearing your first lover's face. Are you prepared to see yourself as you truly are? There is no preparation for this, replies the one who looks like your childhood friend. There is only the truth and what you have done with it. They step aside, and you enter the Hall of Two Truths. The interior is vast beyond comprehension, yet intimate as a confession booth. At the far end, barely visible through the forest of columns, you can see the scales that will determine your fate. But between you and that destination, wait the 42 judges, gods whose names were old when the pyramids were young, each one responsible for weighing a different aspect of moral conduct. They appear not as statues or paintings, but as living presence, their attention focused on you with the intensity of divine interest. The first stands nearest to the entrance, us.Nemt, whose name means wide of stride. He judges those who have been violent without cause, who have let anger overcome wisdom. Have you killed the innocent? He asks, and his voice resonates through your bones. Have you raised your hand in rage rather than justice? If you have, the lie would be impossible here. The hall sees all, knows all, forgives nothing. But honesty, even painful honesty, creates space for potential redemption. You answer truthfully, whether that answer brings shame or vindication. The second judge steps forward, Heptket, fire embracer, who weighs those who have been greedy, who have taken more than their share, while others went without. Have you stolen? Have you hoarded wealth while your neighbors suffered? Have you put your own comfort above the needs of others? Again you must answer, and again, and again. 42 questions, each one probing a different aspect of moral character. Have you lied to gain advantage? Have you been proud when humility was called for? Have you turned away from suffering you could have eased? Have you broken faith with those who trusted you? Some questions are easy to answer with a clear conscience. Others bring waves of regret, memories of moments when you chose poorly, when fear or selfishness or simple thoughtlessness led you to cause harm. The weight in your chest grows heavier with each admission, lighter with each moment of integrity you can honestly claim. The voice that has accompanied you whispers urgently during this interrogation. Truth, it reminds you. Only truth will serve you here. Every lie makes your heart heavier. Every honest admission of fault creates the possibility of balance. When the last judge has asked their question and received their answer, you are led to the center of the hall. Here stands the great scale, its crossbeam made from a single piece of meteoric iron, its plates fashioned from gold that has never known the touch of earthly fire. Anubis waits beside the scale, the jackal-headed god whose duty it is to weigh every heart that comes before these judges. His form is taller than any mortal man, his dark fur gleaming with health and power. Around his neck hangs the Ankh, symbol of life, and in his hands he holds the instruments of measurement, tools older than civilization, more precise than any earthly balance. Are you prepared? He asks, and his voice carries the patience of one who has performed this duty countless millions of times. Do you understand what happens now? You nod, though understanding and being prepared are different things entirely. You know that your heart, the seat of your consciousness, the record of every choice you have made, will be removed from your chest and placed on one side of the scale. On the other side will rest the feather of Maat, symbol of truth and justice and cosmic order. If your heart is lighter than the feather, if your life has been lived in harmony with cosmic law, you will be permitted to pass into the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise, where the blessed spend eternity in perfect contentment. If your heart weighs the same as the feather, you achieve perfect balance and may choose your fate, paradise, or return to earthly life to try again. But if your heart is heavier than the feather, In the shadows at the edge of the hall, something stirs. Amid the devourer opens one massive eye, then another. She is part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, a chimera of appetite whose hunger can never be satisfied. Her jaws have consumed the hearts of the wicked since time began, and each meal removes a soul permanently from the cycle of existence. Not death, obliteration, the complete and final ending of all that you are or ever were. Anubis approaches you with gentle reverence. His touch is neither cold nor warm, but something else entirely, the neutrality of absolute justice. I will be careful, he promises. This will not hurt. And it doesn't. The removal of your heart feels like taking off a heavy coat on a hot day. Relief and lightness, and the slightly dizzying sensation of burden lifted. You watch with detached fascination as Anubis places your heart on the left side of the scale, where it sits pulsing with the rhythm of every beat it made during your mortal life. On the right side, he places the feather of Mot. It is impossibly delicate, white as fresh snow, light as a breath, yet it represents the weight of all moral law, all cosmic justice, all divine order. The scale begins to move. Time stops. The hall holds its breath. Even Amit pauses in her endless hunger to watch this moment of ultimate truth. The plates of the scale swing back and forth, seeking their final position. Your heart and the feather rise and fall in the ancient dance of judgment, while you wait to learn what your life has been worth in the economy of eternity. The scales settle into stillness. The great hall of two truths holds its breath as divine justice renders its verdict. Three possibilities stretch before you, like roads leading to different countries, each one representing not just a destination, but a fundamentally different understanding of what it means to exist. If the scales tip left, if your heart proves heavier than the feather of Mot, then what happens next unfolds with the inevitability of sunrise. Amit the devourer rises from her shadowy corner, and her footsteps shake the foundations of the hall. She is massive, terrible, but not cruel, merely the instrument of cosmic law, the force that maintains balance by removing what cannot be balanced. She approaches with surprising gentleness. Her crocodile jaws, which could snap through stone, open with careful precision. Her lion's body moves with predatory grace, but there is no malice in her golden eyes, only the patient hunger of one who performs a necessary function. It is finished, she says, and her voice is the sound of rivers changing course, of mountains wearing away to sand, of stars burning out in the vast darkness between galaxies. You have been weighed and found wanting. But this is not punishment. It is completion. Your heart, heavy with the accumulated weight of poor choices, of harm caused, of love withheld when it should have been given, beats its final rhythm. Amit's jaws close, and in that moment, you understand something that mortals are never meant to know, what it feels like to simply cease. Not death, which is merely another door. Not sleep, which promises awakening. This is the gentle dissolution of the self back into the undifferentiated void from which all things come and to which all things return. Your memories scatter like seeds on the wind. Your personality unravels like a tapestry pulled apart thread by thread. The part of you that thought and felt and chose becomes part of the vast unconscious background against which consciousness plays. There is no pain in this ending, no terror, no regret, no sense of loss. Those emotions require a self to experience them, and self is exactly what ceases to exist. There is only this peace of non being, the ultimate rest that comes when all struggle ends. From the perspective of those who continue to exist, this seems like the ultimate tragedy. But from the perspective of one experiencing it, it is simply nothing. And in that nothingness, there is a kind of perfection. No more mistakes to make, no more pain to endure, no more choices to struggle with. Just the infinite quiet of never having been. If the scales balance perfectly, or if your heart proves lighter than the feather, then a different path opens before you. The western wall of the hall becomes transparent as morning mist, revealing a vista that takes your breath away, if you still had breath to take. The field of reeds stretches to every horizon, a paradise that fulfills every promise ever made about what awaits the righteous dead. Here the Nile runs clear and sweet, its banks lined with date palms, heavy with fruit that never falls, their shade cool and welcoming. Wheat grows here taller than any earthly grain, its ears full and golden, swaying in breezes that carry the scent of lotus blossoms and clean rain. This is Egypt, as it was meant to be, Egypt without famine or flood, without war or want, without the thousand small cruelties that make mortal life a constant struggle. The sun here never burns, the nights are never cold. Work, when you choose to do it, brings only satisfaction, never exhaustion. Rest, when you desire it, refreshes completely, never leaves you wanting more. The people here are those who achieved the same balance you have, souls who navigated the challenges of mortal existence with wisdom and compassion, who made more good choices than bad ones, who learned to love without possessing, to strive without destroying, to grow without diminishing others. Your earthly family may be here, if they too pass the test of the scales. Your friends, your teachers, perhaps even strangers whose kindness touched your life in small but meaningful ways. They welcome you with joy that has no shadow, offer you food that satisfies every hunger, invite you to rest in shade that never shifts. Time moves differently in the field of reeds. A conversation might last for what feels like hours, but prove to have taken place in the space between one heartbeat and the next. Or you might spend what seems like moments in contemplation, only to discover that seasons have passed in the world beyond paradise. You can build here, create here, explore here. The field of reeds is vast beyond imagining, containing wonders that would take eternity to discover. Mountains of crystal rise from plains of silver grass. Lakes reflect not the sky, but the dreams of those who gaze into their depths. Cities, built from music itself, offer dwelling places where harmony is not just heard, but lived. Yet for all its perfection, the field of reeds is not stagnation. Growth continues here, but growth without pain, learning without loss, becoming without leaving anything essential behind. You remain yourself, but yourself refined, yourself as you were always meant to be. This is the reward the ancient Egyptians promised to those who lived well. Not just existence after death, but existence as it should be, freed from the limitations and sorrows that constrain mortal life. Here, finally, you can rest from your journey. Here, finally, you are home. But there is a third possibility, one that the texts speak of only in whispers and hints. If your heart achieves perfect balance with the feather of Ma'at, not lighter, not heavier, but exactly equal, then you are offered a choice that few souls ever face. Thoth the scribe approaches, his ibis head tilted with scholarly interest. In his hands he carries a scroll that seems to write itself, recording the precise measurement of your judgment. Perfect balance, he announces, and his voice carries the authority of one who records divine truth. Neither saint nor sinner, but human in the truest sense, you have earned the rarest gift. The gift is choice itself. You may proceed to the field of reeds if you wish, taking your place among the blessed dead. You may surrender to Amit if the burden of existence has grown too heavy to bear. Or you may return, not as a ghost or spirit, but as a living soul in a new mortal form, given another chance to walk the earth and grow and learn and choose. This return is not reincarnation, as some understand it. You would not retain conscious memory of this life or this journey through the duat. Instead, you would begin again with a fresh slate, but carrying deep within your soul the wisdom earned through previous existence. A tendency toward compassion, perhaps, an instinctive understanding of justice, a natural inclination to seek truth over comfort. The choice must be made immediately, with your heart still balanced on the scales. Wait too long, think too hard, and the balance may shift. This decision comes not from careful calculation, but from the deepest part of your being, from whatever it is that makes you fundamentally you. If you choose return, the hall fades around you like a dream dissolving at dawn. Your consciousness gathers itself like water forming into a drop, then falls back toward the world of the living. Somewhere on earth, in a place and time determined by forces greater than mortal understanding, new life stirs. A child is born who carries within them the potential shaped by your journey through the realm of the dead. The gift of perfect balance is the gift of perfect freedom, the ability to choose your own fate based not on fear or desire, but on the deep knowledge of what it means to be human. Few achieve it. Fewer still make the choice to use it. But for those who do, the cycle continues. The great wheel turns. And somewhere in the world of the living, a soul begins again the long journey toward understanding what it means to exist. As the vision of judgment fades and the hall of two truths dissolves back into the realm of story and symbol, it is worth asking why the ancient Egyptians created this elaborate vision of death and what follows it. For this was not mere superstition or primitive fear-mongering, but a sophisticated attempt to answer the deepest questions that consciousness can ask. What happens when we die? What makes a life meaningful? How should we live, knowing that life is temporary? The Egyptians looked around them at a world that often seemed random and cruel. Good people suffered while the wicked prospered. Hard work went unrewarded while lazy men inherited wealth. Children died while their parents lived on in grief. The natural order appeared broken, justice a beautiful lie told to make existence bearable. But what if this life was not the end of the story? What if the scales of justice, which seemed so unbalanced in the mortal world, could be balanced in some other realm? What if every choice mattered, every kindness was recorded, every cruelty would eventually be weighed and measured? This is where Ma'at comes in, the concept that lies at the very heart of Egyptian mythology. Ma'at is more than a goddess, more than a symbol. She is the principle that the universe has an underlying order that chaos and justice are in constant tension, and that this tension gives meaning to existence. Her feather weighs against every heart because truth, in the Egyptian understanding, is not heavy. It is light, simple, pure. It is our complications, our rationalizations, our willingness to cause harm for personal gain that adds weight to the heart. The journey through the duat serves multiple purposes. On its surface, it is a map of what to expect after death, a guidebook for souls making the transition from life to whatever comes next. The Egyptians took this literally enough to bury copies of the texts with their dead, providing practical instructions for navigating the afterlife's challenges. But at a deeper level, the duat represents the psychological journey every conscious being must make, the confrontation with our own nature, the acceptance of responsibility for our choices, the recognition that our actions have consequences beyond what we can see. The monsters and trials are external representations of internal struggles. The judgment scene is the moment when we must face ourselves without the comfortable illusions that make daily life possible. The three outcomes reflect three fundamental attitudes toward existence. Complete dissolution represents the ultimate escape, the end of all struggle, all responsibility, all consciousness. It is what we might choose if the burden of being aware became too heavy to bear. The field of reeds represents the desire for existence without suffering, life as we wish it could be, freed from limitation and loss. The choice to return represents the acceptance that growth requires challenge, that meaning comes from struggle, that consciousness itself might be worth preserving, even at the cost of pain. What makes the Egyptian vision particularly profound is its understanding that the quality of our death reflects the quality of our life. You cannot suddenly become wise and compassionate in the hall of two truths if you spent your mortal existence being cruel and selfish. The heart that is weighed carries the accumulated weight of every choice, every moment when you chose either love or fear, growth or stagnation, truth or comfortable lies. This creates a framework for living that is both pragmatic and transcendent. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to lighten or burden your heart. Every choice carries eternal consequences, not because some external judge is keeping score, but because you are keeping score. Your own consciousness is writing the record that will eventually be read. The psychological comfort this provides is profound. In a world where justice often seems absent, where good intentions go unpunished and evil succeeds temporarily, the Egyptian vision promises that there is a larger context, a deeper reckoning, a scale that includes more than just material success or failure. But perhaps most importantly, the myth teaches that we are not victims of random fate, but participants in our own destiny. The person who emerges from the duat, whether to paradise, oblivion, or another chance at mortal life, is not the same person who died. They have been refined by their journey, tested by their choices, transformed by their willingness to face truth without comforting illusions. This is why the story still resonates thousands of years after the last pharaoh was buried with his scroll of directions for the afterlife. The external details may seem archaic, jackal-headed gods and feathers of justice, but the underlying insights remain as relevant as ever. We are all traveling through our own version of the duat, making choices that lighten or burden our hearts, preparing for judgments that may come not after death, but in the quiet moments when we are alone with our own conscience. The myth behind the myth is simple. Consciousness matters. Choices have consequences. Love weighs less than selfishness. Truth is lighter than deception. And the journey toward understanding what it means to exist is the most important adventure any soul can undertake. But now, as the visions of ancient judgment fade and the voices of long-dead gods grow quiet, it is time to return. Time to leave the realm of myth and symbol and find your way back to the simple, precious reality of breath and heartbeat and the soft bed that waits for your return. You are safe here. You have always been safe. The duat exists now only in story and memory, in the dreams that come when consciousness relaxes its grip on the ordinary world. The trials you witnessed, the choices you imagined making, the weight of judgment you felt, all of it was exploration, not experience. Adventure without risk, wisdom without cost. Feel yourself settling back into your own body, your own time, your own peaceful room. The obsidian roads dissolve beneath your feet. The star-scattered sky of the duat fades into the familiar ceiling above your bed. The voices of ancient guides become the gentle sound of your own breathing, steady and sure. Your heart beats in your chest, not the symbolic heart that carries the weight of moral choices, but the physical heart that has carried you through this day and will carry you into tomorrow. It beats with the rhythm of simple life, uncomplicated by divine judgment, unpressured by cosmic scales. The bed beneath you is soft and welcoming. The pillow cradles your head with perfect understanding of what you need. The blankets hold just the right amount of warmth, creating a cocoon of comfort that asks nothing of you except that you rest. Outside, the world continues its ancient dance. Stars wheel in their courses, following patterns older than Egyptian dynasties. The moon rises and sets according to laws that have nothing to do with gods or magic, everything to do with the reliable physics that keeps planets in their orbits and time flowing in its proper direction. But inside this room, inside this moment, you are held in perfect stillness. The stories you have heard tonight become part of you, not as burden, but as gift, not as weight, but as wisdom. They join the countless other stories that human beings have told themselves since consciousness first looked up at the stars and wondered what it all meant. Perhaps you will dream tonight of sailing down celestial rivers. Perhaps you will find yourself walking through halls of judgment, but as observer rather than participant, tourist rather than traveler. Or perhaps your dreams will be entirely ordinary, fragments of daily life, rearranged by a sleeping mind into new patterns, new possibilities. All of this is as it should be. Dreams, like myths, serve their purpose without requiring literal belief. They process what needs processing, explore what needs exploring, integrate what needs integrating. They do their work in the deep places of the mind, while you rest in the shallows of sleep. The ancient Egyptians understood something profound about the relationship between sleeping and dying, between dreaming and judging, between the journey of sleep and the journey of death. Both require letting go. Both involve moving through strange landscapes by different rules. Both offer the possibility of transformation, of waking up different than when you lay down. But tonight, your awakening will be simple and earthly. Tomorrow's sunlight will stream through familiar windows. The sounds you hear will be traffic and birds and human voices, not the chanting of jackal-headed gods. The choices you face will be ordinary ones: what to eat, where to go, how to spend the precious hours of another day. And that is enough. That is more than enough. The ordinary world, for all its limitations and sorrows, contains wonders that no afterlife could improve upon. The taste of bread, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the laugh of a friend, the satisfaction of work well done, these simple pleasures need no enhancement from eternity. The stories of gods and judgment serve their purpose by making us grateful for the temporary gift of consciousness, the brief opportunity to experience what it means to be alive. They remind us that every moment is precious precisely because it will not last forever, that every choice matters because we will not have infinite opportunities to choose. So rest now, knowing that you have voyaged as far as myth and story can carry you. You have looked upon the scales of justice and learned something about the weight of choices. You have walked through halls of memory and understood something about the nature of identity. You have stood at the crossroads between different kinds of existence and discovered something about what you value most. Tomorrow, you will return to the world of the living with all its beauty and challenge and possibility. But tonight, you simply sleep. Tonight, you dream whatever dreams come naturally. Tonight, you rest in the perfect peace of knowing that some journeys are best taken in imagination, some truths are best encountered in story, some wisdom is best received while lying safe and comfortable in the darkness. Sleep well, traveler. The duat will still be there if you need it, still telling its ancient story about what it means to face the truth of who you are. But for now, for this blessed moment, you need face nothing more challenging than the gentle descent into sleep. The feather of Mat weighs no more than a whisper. Your heart beats with the rhythm of contentment, and in the space between one breath and the next, the eternal stories fade into the simpler story of rest. Sleep now, dream well, and wake refreshed, carrying within you the knowledge that every day is another chance to live in a way that honors the brief, bright miracle of being conscious in an unconscious universe. The journey through the Egyptian afterlife is complete, but the journey of being beautifully, temporarily, perfectly human continues with every sunrise. Sleep.